All right, can everybody see me and hear me okay? Just last kind of check here.
We get a little bit of glow in the background.
Yeah, it's a little glowy tonight. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that is. I think maybe Heath has been spraying pre-treat into the camera lens again, which is terrible. Okay, so welcome to tonight's webinar. You can ask questions at any time during the event tonight. That's very cool. We'd love to get your feedback as we go. We'll try to get to every question before we close out tonight. If we don't, those questions are saved, and Don Copeland will probably be in touch and answer those questions for you. Since not all of you have been to one of our webinars, oh, by the way, come in. This is Don Copeland. Wave at the camera.
The camera's over here now.
Don will be looking in this direction for most of the time because we have the big TV screen.
I like to look at myself. I am pretty handsome. By the way, hey Mark, what do you say we do a little housekeeping?
I think we should. To start off, I think we'll do a little housekeeping here so you know what's going on. I'm going to switch over to the monitor now. If you are on an iPad, an iPhone, and a
one of those,
or any kind of portable device.
The camera's over here, Mark.
Laptop and a desktop are the preferred methods. So when we switch back from the desktop to the camera, you may experience a little glitch. We can't help you with that. You can let us know, but we're not going to be able to do anything. What you can do though is you can click away and click back again, and that will frequently help. That's okay. Periodically, you're going to see just the camera or just the monitor. Right now, you should be just seeing the screen. And here's my housekeeping now that the questions and things are out of the way. How many of you are not members of the Custom Apparel Startups Facebook group? If you have not joined yet, and I see a few people have not, and you are on Facebook, please do. The CAS group is a great place to, we've got 2,134 members now. It's a great place for you guys to get together and talk to each other about the business. We get questions here. Does anybody have the 1B6P? We get questions about DTG printing, about which embroidery machine to buy, how to price directed garment work, how to price embroidery, where can I get this blank or that blank. It is a very useful spot. We also post all of our articles and podcasts and all that stuff on there as well. So please join. Go to Facebook and customapparelstartups.com. Kevin says the CAS Facebook page is extremely helpful and informative. Kevin, I will tell you, I'm going to read every single one of your questions and comments for the rest of the night, just because you said that. Okay,
for the rest of the night?
For the rest of the night.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is the webinars page. Many of you probably got here through this. We try to keep an up-to-date schedule of everything that we're going to do as far as live webinars go over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So you can see all of our events, just the ColDesi, just the Coleman and Company events on a calendar. And a few weeks ago, we started with the amazing Heath, who is our lead DTG tech, among other things. And I'm only saying good things about him because he's got his girlfriend here tonight.
It's a different one than last time.
Different. But what we're doing is we're doing at least a couple of days a week. Some weeks Tuesday through Friday, as you can see there. Just kind of the basic webinars for our equipment owners, like adjusting platens on the DTG, basic maintenance, how to hoop a cap for embroidery. We're going to have some general Q&A sessions. These are all things that we do to help keep you in business. And we've also got the CAS podcast, which is kind of the same custom apparel startups thing, where me and Mark Vila, who is the other Mark from Coleman and Company, does marketing there, and frequently guests come on, and we talk about things like this. Episode 28 we just published is about the fundraising market and how you might use your DTG printer or your embroidery machine to take advantage of that. Before that, we talked about you versus the competition and how to overcome those objections, talked about Facebook for Business. CAS podcast is a great place to listen to your information and get better at what you do, okay? That is it. That's my spiel. So now I'm going to turn the camera back on, and I'm going to apologize in advance because from now on you're going to be looking at Don Copeland.
Wow. That was tough.
Don?
Should we get the #1 question out of the way first?
Yes.
Yes, ladies, I am married. Sorry.
I don't think anyone with your figure isn't married.
Remember, those who can sell, those who can sell, those who don't market.
Stopped him in his tracks.
All right. So sorry about the glare. It's probably my forehead.
It could be.
Sorry. it's kind of cool. Number one, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening. Some of you who are on the West Coast, I'm glad I got you off work early to be here.
Yeah.
Right. But thank you guys for taking time out to be here, and we're going to talk a bit tonight about a basically setup that we have somebody who's setting up a home-based business. All right.
Back office,
spare
bedroom.
Like that, but spare bedroom, and it really is kind of cool because it's kind of a full circle thing for me. I was probably 9 years ago or so. I was asked by one of the magazines to write an article or help write an article. There was a number of us that did it. It was called the Digital Shop Challenge. We had a bedroom. And they actually gave us dimensions of a bedroom to set up a business and a dollar amount to work within, and then some growth opportunities within that dollar amount. Right? We have a question already. No, she loves me enough not to get married again. No, I'm sorry. If you have no visual, Katie, why don't you like exit out and come back in? It's possible that when we jumped, if you're running, especially on a portable device, we seem to have some problems jumping back and forth.
So also there should be like a little snowflake shaped thing down at the bottom. You click on that and that may show it as well because sometimes the video window just goes behind.
I didn't do that in college. I had mostly beer. So Mark knows a little bit about snowflake more than I do.
Okay. You're around the desktop. Okay. Click away, click back, and we'll do the same and we'll see if that helps. That doesn't do anything. You have to hit the little garbage cans. And close that. Why don't you make this smaller so everybody knows that we can see Heath over there?
Right. Okay, cool.
There's Heath.
That would be Heath.
There you go.
He's back from prison, folks. So we're going to click off, back from the camera, and we're going to go back on. All right, we're going to try that again, see if that helped. People can see me. Can you see me now? Anybody having problems see me?
If we have a problem because we see you.
We are recording this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I can't say anything to
No,
use against me in the court of law.
By the way, just in case you haven't attended one of these before, it's way after hours for us. So we're a little bit more casual than we would normally be.
But we're pretty serious about what we do and helping you guys get your businesses going. So what we're trying to do tonight, even though Mark keeps interrupting me with stuff that's not pertinent. We're talking about setting up a home-based business, a back office business, a side business where you're not worrying about a huge amount of space. And no, does no mean you're not seeing me, or no means you are seeing me. Are. Okay, good. Thank you, Linda. All right, cool. So we're talking about small limited space. Actually, this room that we're in, Mark and I put a tape on this, and we're about 11 feet wide and maybe 13 feet that way. And we are losing.
We're only using about 10
Mark's
feet.
Mark's
of this
maybe
way.
6 feet from me. We're not even really using 6 feet.
Right.
But this is just to give you a ballpark idea of where we're at in terms of setting up a small office setup.
Yeah.
And you're going to have things in a small office, especially if you're using a bedroom. You're going to have a closet. Take the door off the closet, right? Give yourself some open space.
Yep.
One of those closets that has the sliding out doors.
Take
those out, and you have shelf space for those whatsoever. But one of the things we've kind of tried to simulate here and show you the important things: space for the heat press away from the printer.
Right.
Space for the pre-treatment machine away from the printer. Space to deal with your shirts, your garments. Everything we have here is on wheels.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea in the early stages because it allows you to start to think, right? Think outside the box and move. Okay, this would really help if this was over here.
Yeah.
If it's on wheels,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier, and you can do it yourself.
And really, one of the things that inspired this particular idea was the fact that the Viper 2 is our first printer in a long time that will fit through a standard doorway, and that opens up so many more possibilities.
Yeah, the Viper 2 is less than 32 inches wide, which means you can literally move it through just about any standard door.
Move aside a little bit so they can actually see the Viper 2.
You can see the printer there. It's 32 inches wide. It looks like we got another question here. I'll pop this up. Throw it up into the corner. How about this?
Yeah, let's scroll down there.
Got a video on it. We can't see now.
Let's put it down here.
What type of rolling stance do you use? Good question, Linda. Literally, it really doesn't matter. But we have taken, these are
They're U-line, right?
These are U-line tables. Can you scroll down that way? Mark?
Yeah.
All right, these are U-line tables, right? And we put casters on them. If one of you all if you go up to the U-line there, go up to the uline.com, uline.com, and put in packing tables. These are the composite tops. Most of the ones we use are 30 by 48.
Yep.
And then you just put casters on them. The legs are adjustable, so you can get them to the right height. I want to say, Peter, thank you for the feedback. Peter giving us. Peter's our IT department tonight.
Okay, that's right.
He says,
I appreciate that.
FYI, clicking the blue circular icon on the floating bar, view in full screen mode, view in window mode, always fixes the video loss problem
Oh,
on Windows
awesome.
10.
Thank
you,
you.
brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you're looking for a job, we have a marketing position that'll be open after tonight. Back to our story. I want to size this up a little bit so you can see how handsome I am. And we'll go back a little bit to what we're trying to do here. But really, we've tried to limit to work within the space. Mark, you want to scan a little bit? You guys see the printer there?
You should actually be able to get
the printer
the
here.
whole thing.
We have a hooping station, station to load up our shirts. We have a pre-treatment machine. We have the heat press. Obviously, one of the things that we have done is we have tried to do this all in a line just because of our setup. But the important factors we set up here. I want the printer away from the pre-treatment machine. I want the printer away from the heat press. Okay? So those are important factors. I want a station to work on.
Yeah.
A lot of times you guys have watched any of my webinars in the past, I'm sitting over here trying to work on this. That's not really the way you want to do it, right? And this is kind of that we've chosen this setup of equipment, by the way, to run in a promotion this month that includes this equipment.
Yeah.
Right?
Not the tables, just the equipment.
The pre-treatment machine, the heat press, the one and the standard Platen that comes with the system. I will talk to you a little bit as we get later on about an ideal setup. This is a kind of a decent setup to get you going. Obviously, you could take this room that we're in, it's an average bedroom, second bedroom in a house.
Yep.
And I could very easily set this up with an embroidery machine and maybe even a small rhinestone machine or a small spangle machine. Put it inside of here, add another heat press, and with the right tables, I would probably put a work table in the middle of this. It's a longer work table that I could work from either side from. It's all about getting a workflow down when you're working in a home.
Yeah, and remember, you're not trying to put everything on camera, so you can go in
a
circle instead of
as
up
Mark
against
said,
one
we're
wall.
working under the Last Supper, right? You know, pretty sure that the disciples were around the table, but in all the paintings, right?
They're all
right.
on one side.
That's a photograph. They said, let's do a selfie here at the end, right? They did, but the idea is that you want to give yourself a place to work from. Okay, so this is workable. Ideally, what I would have is I would have my workstation over here so I can turn around and get to stuff.
Yes.
Right? So we'll address that. We'll address the extra equipment that we would recommend going forward into this for the full setup.
Right. And the other thing about this is that, this is one of the first times because of the Viper 2 that you can have a top-notch, really professional, none better kind of quality print in your bedroom as well.
How many adjectives did you lose?
I'm trying for a few more.
Bang.
I think in keywords now.
I'd like to buy an adjective. So it gives you the chance to run a full-blown graphics business out of your house. This is kind of a funny thing. I've been doing this stuff long enough. You talk to people, go, well, there's nobody who does DTG in my market where I'm at. Nobody, really. Yeah. Do you deal with the Taekwondo marketplace? Or what about the long-haired setters?
Right.
Or, traditional archery or, vegetarians had to get market there.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And there's a lot of people who are running these niche markets out of their homes dealing with different types segments of the marketplace. If you go back 10 or 15 years in this marketplace, a lot of those companies, a lot of those businesses were running through places like Cafe Press, places like Zazzle, right? And what has happened is they've grown. The more successful niche markets are peeling off and getting their own equipment because there's a lot of really cool software out there. There's Deco Network and Inksoft that allow the average guy to set up his own t-shirt shop dealing in these niche markets. And they can be, your neighbor could be running a Hillary business, running Hillary shirts, and the next guy could be doing Trump t-shirts. Next door neighbors, they wouldn't even know each other has direct garment shirts.
They don't talk to each other.
Because they definitely don't talk, right?
Talk to each other.
Right? And there's probably a wall that's been built up between them, right? But
that Mexico paper.
There you go. But you get the idea. There's a lot of businesses. This is a great niche market type of thing. And it could be whatever you do. I usually tell people the best place to set this type of business up is you take where you're good at, you're an artist or something like that, and then you take your passions. What do you do when you're not being you? What's your job? Are you out there doing Little League with your kids, right? Are you involved in traditional archery? Are you involved in kayaking? Whatever it is, because you start to get out on those limbs, and that's where the money is at.
Yeah.
I use the Ford example.
I like that.
You go to Walmart, you'll pay $10 for a Ford T-shirt, all right? But you actually got a Mustang Fastback, right? So then maybe you'll pay $15 for a Ford Mustang shirt.
Yep.
Now you go to a car show and they might have a Ford Mustang Fastback shirt. You're going to pay $20 for it. I get a picture of your Ford Mustang Fastback, put it on a shirt. It's a $30 shirt.
Absolutely.
The further you get out on the branch, sweeter the fruit is, the higher the dollar of the ticket is.
And if you don't know anything about DTG, that's one of the strengths. Because you can do 1 or you can do 25 or any variation.
It's very linear, If
And
it takes you 5 minutes to print one, it costs you $5 to print it.
And I'm going to say it now, and you can print 4 shirts at once. So I was afraid we weren't going to get there.
Thank you very much.
We're going to show you that
We're
later.
not going to show 4 tonight.
We
Thank
may.
you.
I don't
We're
know.
going to show 2.
Okay,
right?
fine.
Because the other 2 shirts are going to be stuffed in Mark's mouth by
Okay.
Heath on the backside when you don't see him, right?
I like that.
No, but one of the benefits is that you can literally go in and you can run multiple shirts. And it's not, guys, a lot of people get their heads caught up in the fact that it's about the size of the shirt. It's not. It's about the size of the graphic. And we're actually going to talk about the equipment tonight.
Awesome. That's a good
Right.
idea. It's only been
That's
20
it.
minutes.
Bickering between me and the guys who are in marketing and
Yeah.
sell stuff. So this is our 421 Platen system. It's thus named because there are 4 Platens. We have covers to make it 2 and 1 to make it 1. These are 7.5 by 11.5. We also have covers that make them 11.5 by 16.5, and an Uber cover to do Bubba size shirts, 16.5 by 24.5. So you have the versatility when you work on designs. You work within the size of these Platens for the design. Forget the T-shirt size, and therefore that's how you do your billing, how you do your pricing, so that you're making sure that you're optimizing it. Because you go ½ inch over the size of this, you just cut. There's the thank you very much, Vanna.
Yes.
A little higher.
There you go.
A little higher. A little higher. But you go a ½ inch over the size of this, and what happens? Yeah, look at this. He's holding that up to his chest. He's not a little guy. And you're talking about you can do a full size front to a shirt, but this allows you to market it right so that I run the machine. So I can do 24 shirts.
Yeah.
If I can get to the designs in this size, I'm talking about 6 passes through the machine.
Yeah.
All right. As opposed to doing 12 passes if they just go a ½ inch over this size.
Right.
All right. That was enough about the equipment. Who would like to buy one? Oh.
So should I ask? Is there anything else about the Viper 2 that makes it better for home use or small office use than on printers past?
I mean, the big thing is fitting through the door. To me, I think one of the really big things with the Viper 2 over most of the machines we sold, and I've been here since the Genesis, and one of the big things about the Viper 2 is the machine. Since Genesis, right? Thank you, Moses. The big thing about this, you're the one who brought up the Last Supper thing.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Is that the machine can be sat longer. And as a home-based business, you have a life, right? So generally, this is not your primary income source. And a lot of times, it's a lot of people. This is kind of I'm done working for the man, but I'm not going to be done working for the man until I'm done working for the man. And this is driving me to the point that I'm staying up 3 o'clock in the morning printing shirts and stuff. This machine will allow you during those periods when you're down, you have a real life, you're going on vacation, to allow you to let it sit for longer periods of time. We have a pressurized ink system that, and I think Heath will testify this as a technician here, is we're seeing very, very, very few printhead clogging issues because of the pressurization of the printhead, and it's really strong. You're looking at a question. Don't do that.
Yeah, looking at a question. So, and I'll say one thing that I notice about the Viper 2 every time, and that it's absolutely quiet.
It is.
Yeah.
It's almost as quiet as marketing. What's your question here? Are these pieces running on 110? Yes, yes. And thanks, Katie. They are 110. You don't need a dedicated circuit except for
the
heat press. And that's simply because it's resistant heat, right? And you don't want to cycle, just like you don't put your refrigerator on the same circuit as your big screen or something like that. So you do want to put the heat press on an isolated circuit. Pre-treatment machine, very minimal draw. Printer, very minimal draw. So you don't have to worry about that. So you do want to isolate some circuits in the extra room when you set it up. It's a very good question. And we have another question. Clyde, I work in a 117 square foot back room, and it is harder to get the tables in the room than the printer.
That's great.
That's a good question. That's a good point.
Thanks, Clyde.
If you go with these tables that we've used, these are 30 inches wide, right? And if you notice, the printer is 31 inches wide, but the feet are less than 31 inches wide.
Right.
So you can literally set the table so that we're off the side of it. It's not a big deal. But you're right. If you he didn't realize his foot was off of the table. Yeah. But you can certainly do that. And you got 100. So you're not far You're almost exactly the size of this room.
Yeah, yeah. You've got
'Cause we're
plenty of
about
space.
14 and a half, 15
Yeah.
by 11, so we're right in the
That's
same
great. I just
zip code.
hope your air conditioning is better than ours.
Yes, that's true, and that you don't have marketing guys in the room with you.
Mm.
Reliability after
Always
prolonged downtime is a huge plus. Yes, Jack, Greg, I
Yes.
agree that it's hugely with the cartridge-based inks. And a secondary thing we do here is we've spent the time and the money to invest in equipment that degasses the inks.
Right.
And degassing the inks, it sounds like there's air in the inks. It's not. It's gases that are in the inks inherent from the manufacturing process of the inks. And by degassing them, we make the inks much more stable when they're in the print head, when they're in the ink line. So if he does a head cleaning in the morning, he has to do one head cleaning, and the machine is going to come clean.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about settling and whatnot. If you've ever had a boat and that you've ever dealt with cavitation on the outboard of your motor on your boat, that's the same thing that happens in a print head when you get too much gases in the ink. You get a cavitation, you start to skip things, and especially during head cleanings and then doing nozzle check. Hope you get false nozzle check. They're not bad, but it's just that the inks haven't settled down. That's another huge part about the machine.
So quiet, lower maintenance, and a lot less mess because of the cartridges.
I think that Mark just went like this and said focus.
I did.
Yeah, thank you. Other questions? Are there other questions about the equipment? Good questions so far, by the way.
Yep. So the other piece of the puzzle here that allows us to do all this inside is the Spider Mini.
It does. You know, it's another aspect of direct-to-garment that has been an issue for a while. All right. This is our Spider Mini. This is actually our pre-treatment machine. We do include a Wagner sprayer. Have been the DTG industry has probably driven the Wagner stock up 10 points in the year since it's come out. So you can hand pre-treat, and it is definitely something you can do that will save you an expense. But it's not something you're going to do in this room. It's not something you're going to do this close to the printer. All right. You're going to have to do it in a separate room, and then you probably need to have a heat press in that room, so you're not running across the house with a wet T-shirt.
We used to have space in our warehouse where we had a spray booth.
We are
set
in the
up.
space in our warehouse where it was at.
That's
This
right.
room is actually where our pre-treat station used to be.
And now we took all that out and we just used the one Spider Mini for everything.
So it allows you to pre-treat, and I mean right now I'm
He's just showing off. He has the technical qualifications to pre-treat.
Right. So we just pre-treated a shirt, and we aren't real good at opening the door on it yet, but we pre-treated a shirt, and it's ready to go. All right. So that's another huge factor. It allows you to do it all self-contained in a room.
Yep.
You head in here. You know, if you want to put a TV up and CSI's on, knock it out. You can watch CSI and still be doing stuff. But that's huge. Otherwise, we would be doing this with a sprayer. We'd have to spray down stuff because the pre-treatment is sticky.
Yep.
It's basically salt water and glue, right? We're able to do that inside of our facility and keep going and run production. People ask me a lot of times about how do I go about that. I certainly, when I do shirts, I do a lot of shirts for my church and some other organizations I'm involved with. And what I will do is I will maybe get 8 or 10 shirts ahead. In fact, when I did the webinar we did with the M2 production, I got 2/3 of my shirts done, half my shirts done. Get yourself 10 or 12 shirts ahead, because the one thing you're going to fall behind on, you're going to forget about pre-treating, is pre-treating. You get a few shirts ahead, you can stay ahead of the curve. But you don't necessarily, if you're doing 48 shirts, have to pre-treat 48 shirts up front.
Got a question from Greg?
Okay, we got a couple more. Okay. Would you be safe hand spraying in the same room if you had a booth that has a vac system? Greg, are you the one that's working at 117 feet opposite side of the room? Maybe. I wouldn't recommend it. Number one. Number two, you're still going to have liquid overspray. I'm not worried so much about the mist. Yes, you can take a fan to draw it out, but there is going to be overspray and it's going to get nasty. That's just my take on it. You might be able to isolate it. Now, if you were going to do it, I would say take and hang on the top, right up where our TV is at right now. I would hang a shower curtain and get behind the shower curtain to kind of keep the spray down.
That's good.
But I wouldn't do it in an area you have carpet, because you will be throwing carpet away.
Yeah.
All right, let me get back up here to Kevin and get rid of Kevin. I'm sorry to get rid of, not that I'm getting rid of you, Greg, I'm getting rid of your question. Hopefully that answered your question. Someone said they pre-wash their shirts, I think black ones, and pre-treat them before printing. Is that necessary? You do not have to pre-wash your shirts. Now, if you're finding you're having problems with a certain brand of shirt, a certain size, or from a certain location, you may want to pre-wash the shirts. Manufacturers, Gildan's a good example. You can order Gildan shirts in some color, pick a color, lime green, right? And you order the gamut, small to extra larges, right? Shirts are going to show up, and maybe the smalls and the larges are made in Haiti, and the mediums and the extra larges are made in the Dominican Republic, or they're made in Costa Rica. they're going to have different sizing compounds based on the ones they're using in those areas. And so we've seen some issues where people print.
They'll even treat some of the shirts differently on the outside.
And so you'll start to have issues. If you start to see issues like that developing with a certain shirt and a certain size, throw them in the wash. It doesn't hurt. Some people like to wash their shirts prior to the delivery to help remove some of the evidence of the pre-treatment, because we do pre-treat in a rectangle, and there is some evidence that the shirt has been pre-treated. The pre-treatment is water-based, so when we press it like he just did, all he did was dry the pre-treat, right? He didn't change the chemical composition of the pre-treatment itself, other than to remove the moisture.
Right.
Okay?
So, Katie, that is a great way to put it. Have you found there are some garments that do not play nice with DTG?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
The ones that don't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So far in cotton, not a lot. When you start to get into really, really, really lightweight shirts, you have to play a little bit with your pre-treatment, because what will happen is the pre-treat will actually soak all the way through, and it will draw the ink all the way through. One of the things that Heath and I look at when we're testing inks, we actually look through the draw through of the white through the shirt.
Yep.
So, but certainly in cotton, you shouldn't have a lot of problems, and you play with the. Sorry, Mark.
Just, your head is covered with the box.
Did I mention that we are in the market for the guy in marketing because Mark died tonight? Oh no, this hasn't happened yet. When you're watching this on video, Mark died tonight.
Stop it.
But no, seriously, you do want to play with shirts, but one of the things we'll teach you in training is the shirts we recommend.
Yeah.
And certainly you can contact guys. I mean, I'll brag on Heath a little bit. Heath has got more practical experience. Don't feel like you have to get here and be smart. Wow. There we go. No, Heath's got a lot of practical experience doing shirts. Right, it's one of the cool things about working here at ColDesi is, especially in our tech department, at least half of these guys have got real world experience doing this stuff. And I don't mean just answering your question, printing shirts. I think, do you still have a DTG at home? There you go. Heath does DTG printing on the side at home. A couple of the guys have got, he does a lot of our training webinars. He grew up embroidering and doing screen printing. Several of the guys in the back have a lot of experience in the embroidery marketplace. These guys have an understanding of not just the nuts and the bolts and the software, but the actual process. Hey, how do I do this type of hat? How do I do this type of shirt? So he can help you with the shirt brands he's found that work, some that don't work. I mean, he's going to later on, he's going to be doing more webinars on doing specialty items like woods and stuff like that as well. So yes, there are, Katie, but the reality check is if you're buying a printer, buy a mishmash of shirts. Obviously, direct-to-garment printing is not designed for printing on dark polys. But we've got some customers who are having fair success on 50/50s, tri-blends, and stuff like that on darks. It's going to take some time, some experience. Techs like Heath can help you, guide you in the right direction. We can't necessarily give you the best solution, but we can help you to know overall what the best settings and things like that to get you the best results we've found, and you can dial it in. It's crazy. There's some great information on the CAS website. People who've played with different types of shirts. There's one guy who's actually doing nothing but tri-blends.
Yeah.
Get an acceptable experience. Part of it's getting your customers' heads wrapped around what to expect.
Yeah, one of the things that I did when I was doing production work is I contacted the manufacturers, say Alpha Broder, Sanmar, one of those companies, and requested for my salesperson samples. So you can get different samples of different brand shirts, and some of the companies will charge you for it, some of them won't, but that gives you a chance to go through and test these things.
If you have a question, get red shirts. Get maroon shirts, because if you can nail it in a red shirt or a maroon shirt, you can do it on anything.
Yeah.
In fact, I read a lot of our criteria for our ink testing, and they're white shirts, black shirts, red shirts. And when they bring me samples, I want to see the red shirts. I'm not worried about the others.
Right.
Okay? All right, cool. Hey, how about we talk about the machine a little bit?
Let's do that again.
DTG Viper, right here.
2.
If you want to turn the camera, the Viper 2 here. It is, I don't want to necessarily say, well, if you weren't looking at the wall right now, I mentioned that we are hiring a cameraman as well as a marketing guy starting tomorrow, because Mark died tonight. So this is the Viper 2. It is our main selling. It's a great startup machine, and a reality check is when you compare it to our M2, this machine probably 75 or 80% of our customers should be buying.
Prints the same size shirt, right?
Virtually the same size print area. It's rotated 90 degrees. The M2 is a little more efficient speed-wise, a little bit less expensive from a consumable standpoint.
Right.
But I think if I did the numbers right, somewhere between 25 to 30,000 shirts before you make up that difference between the cost of the machines. If you're the average shop, if you're a home-based business, this is the machine you're going to look at, because you're not going to be running it 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And in the few instances where you will, it can handle it. I just wouldn't put it under that duress 50 weeks out of the year. But you certainly, this is the machine to go with. Very much straightforward. This is the whole machine itself. It hooks to your computer via USB. It is a printer. Don't lose sight of that. People lose sight of that part of it. It is a printer. You design your graphics in the same software that you would for sublimation. You know, if you're getting core designs done for embroidery, if you're doing vinyl cutting, you're going to do your design work in the same place. The difference is, instead of taking it to a vinyl cutter or taking it to a digitizing software to create the output file, you're going to bring it into a RIP, which we're going to show you here in a minute or two. Right? But this is the Viper 2, the Platen system, as you guys saw, the 421 Platen system, right here. This is included with it. All right, you get one of these. You need a full set of inks. There's 8 cartridges in the machine, 4 whites, one of each of the colors. You're also going to get a full set of cleaning cartridges. So if you take that break, we're talking home-based business in a lot of cases. So you're going to be more prone to shut down for a week at a time, right? Whereas the average shop does not shut down.
Right.
You may go short on some people, but you keep the business running 52 weeks a year. You're going to shut down for a week. Well, then take advantage of that time to flush your system. Throw some cleaning cartridges in. You're down for a week and a half or something like that. Come back, set it up, and go again. It's not something that you have to do all the time, but you certainly can.
Yeah.
Now, while we're at it, we're going to pick on the competition. There are certain machines, Epson.
Yeah. Okay.
That every month to 6 weeks they require a complete flush of the white ink system.
Wow.
Uses $120 something worth of ink.
Okay.
Also require a replacement of a system that uses the print head. You
Right.
don't require that on ours. All right. That's another $90 to $100 a month. So you're paying $150 to $250 a month for the privilege of owning the printer.
Right.
Okay.
And it still won't print more than one shirt at a time.
Still won't print more than one shirt at a time. Has a smaller print area than we do.
Yep.
Can't do. Our largest shirt smokes everybody like a cheap cigar.
Yep.
For large, our standard, these sizes are standard doing this. I mean, the Platens that we have as options. This Platen in itself is more versatile than all of the Platens offered by Epson or Brother combined.
Absolutely.
Right?
Okay.
Questions? We got a bunch of questions popped up. Why don't you roll me back there and try not to get people seasick again, Mark?
Sounds good.
Okay. Go up here to Kevin. What do you flush your system with? Flushing stuff. It's called flushing. It's actually flushing solution, and it's in a cartridge. Just happen to have one right here. And look at that. Conveniently, it says flush. You would put these in the 8 cartridge space, all right? And then put this in, and you just do a couple of actually ink charges, heavy head cleans. That would flush the system out.
This is a great question. Do you have a side-by-side silkscreen shirt versus a DTG print quality shirt?
No, I'm going to call Aaron out on this. What do you mean by quality? Because there is not a screen printer on the marketplace that can print the quality that I can print on a DTG shirt.
That's right.
If you're talking about gradients, number of colors, just fineness of detail, thin line.
And wait, and honestly, you can't get a screen printer to print one shirt for you to compare.
That's the way in.
So we'd have to buy 44.
And we're not beating you up, Aaron, but it's a common question I get. And my first question is what do you mean by quality? Understand, guys, if this is a job that should be done with screen printing, screen print it. Right? If it is a job that has a lot of colors, has variable data, if it's something you're needing to do fill-ins, this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
And the numbers of shirts are crazy. I'm going to ask you, Aaron, a question back because it sounds like you're a screen printer. How much does it cost you to set up an 8-color job?
And by the way, we'll send a sample if you'd like.
We will. We'll be glad to do it, by the way. But what does it cost? And I'll tell you what, here in Florida, the average screen printer you would go to is going to charge you $20 a color to set up. So a 6-color job costs you $120 to set up. On a light colored shirt, I can print almost 500 shirts for the cost of your setup.
Point.
On a dark colored shirt, I might print anywhere from 40 to 100.
Yeah.
So that's where the difference comes in. And guess what? You're really not making money if you're the screen printer charging that $20 a screen. You might be making $3 or $4 a screen, right? But you still have all that time and whatnot invested. So why not save your customer money up front? They feel like they're getting a better deal, and you're making money.
And the big comparison here, since we're talking about a home office business, is you're not going to flush your screens. You're not going to clean your screens inside your back bedroom.
Right. I mean, it does have a set. You know, and Aaron said somebody told him that they don't last as long as screen printing. Okay, so the reality check is neither do shirts. I mean, when you do a standard
Cotton,
print on a
yeah.
t-shirt, you're using plastisol inks, abbreviation for plastic solvent.
Right.
All right, you really shouldn't throw your old t-shirts in a landfill because the actual inks themselves are going to last longer than the cotton. Okay, so that is a fair assessment. However, screen printing is not all plastisol. If you look at the most expensive t-shirts on the marketplace today, Affliction shirts, Ed Hardy shirts, and all that, they're all done with water-based screen print inks.
Yeah,
They have the exact same durability as these prints.
that's right. Keep going.
All right, Linda, that's a good to know because many people tell me that Epson is better. They lie.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, Epson is a good printer. I'm going to get it wrong. They're very price competitive. They brought their price down $5,000 since they came out.
Yeah.
Because they hit about 1/5 of their projection per month on their sales. However, their inks are going to cost you about double the amount per shirt. Their ongoing maintenance is higher.
Right.
And while they have a really attractive warranty system set up initially where the tech comes to you, the reality check is once you're out of warranty, you cannot get a print head. You cannot get a capping station yourself. They have to sell them to a technician or have a technician come in and install them.
Right.
Replacing a print head on that machine is going to be over $3,000 once you're outside of warranty.
Didn't know that.
And the warranty each year, extending it after the first year, adds another, like, I think $1,700 they're at now, the last thing I saw.
We've been at this for a little bit. How about if we print some shirts?
No, we're talking, answering questions. Mark, does the humidity gauge come with the printer? Nope. But I'll tell you what, you can have this one. This one was, what, $10
At Home Depot.
at Home Depot. If you buy an M2, they actually do have a humidity gauge built into them now. But we just buy these separately. It's a good question, Greg, and it's something you should be concerned about, especially if you're up north, okay, and during the summertime, right?
Yep.
I mean, wintertime when it gets cold.
Got the
We don't
heat
see
on.
problems until February.
We
January,
don't
February.
have humidity problems here.
You know, if you're in Colorado, if you're in Arizona, you're in Nevada, that's something you have to address up front, knowing that going in. But that's with any specialty printer.
Yep.
No, not a screen printer. Okay, we answered Aaron's question. More colors with screen printing, doesn't the color tend to be? Yeah, Linda, absolutely right. The key with direct to garment, when we look at cost, we look at time, it's dimensions of the graphic.
Yeah.
The outline, the borders of the
That's
graphic.
how you price it.
Right, that's how you price it. It's square inches basically printed. However, certain designs, a design that's wider and not as tall might print faster than the same design
Yeah,
turned
good
the other
point.
way.
Good point.
You'll start to feel that once you've started printing. With screen printing, absolutely it's a color. I get the question a lot of time, how much does a 4-color print cost on a t-shirt? I don't care if it's 4 colors, I don't care if it's 1 color. You know, if I take a circle this big and it's filled with a photograph of the world, or I take a circle this big and it's a black outline on a white shirt, for both of those, it's going to take the exact same amount of time to print.
Right. Hey, you know what you didn't talk about, since we're talking about versus screen printing, is your idea of scaling that design for the size of the shirt, which you can do
Right.
easily with DTG and not for screens.
Yeah, Katie, great questions tonight, guys. Thank you very much. We do a lot of white, 1-color vinyl cutting. Time and ink, is it comparable to? You're probably, if you're doing large areas, it's probably cheaper with direct to garment.
Yeah.
It's not going to be radically cheaper. And you know, if you're doing higher poly contents, you certainly want to continue. These are not exclusive, just like screen printing is not exclusive of DTG. All right, they complement.
And the biggest thing,
Fun to
you
see.
don't have to weed every single one that you're
That's a
doing.
good point.
Right.
You know, let's put it this way: if there's a bunch of capital R's and O's and small E's,
And that little pick tool that's in there.
somewhere right now, Katie is just like cringing.
Yeah, we do have a lot of customers that buy a Viper 2 with the vinyl system.
In fact,
as well.
in January we actually did a webinar where we showed some marriage
Yeah.
of the two.
Yep.
But it definitely, when you do a lot, the reason, Katie, by the way, that you're doing a lot of white 1-color vinyl cutting is because that's what you have, probably. You know, this is going to allow you to open up and offer more colors to people and charge them for that.
Yep.
Okay, so it definitely, they have their niches. You know, a lot of folks they'll do the fronts of uniforms or jerseys or something like that with the DTG for full color, and then they'll do names and numbers on the back with the vinyl because it's just quicker for them to do that. All right, more questions. They keep coming. Got the same one in the room. I'll be putting my printer in. Great point. You know, everybody. And we're not showing it here tonight. The simplest, least expensive, money-making expander that you'll ever add to your business as apparel decorator is a vinyl cutter.
Yeah,
Vinyl
definitely.
cutter with a heat press to do specialty short run stuff. How does setup time compare with screen printing and DTG making screens and alignment versus pre-treating shirts? Oh, well, number one, I can start printing as soon as my artwork's done. All right, and I can get some shirts being pre-treated. You have to burn all of your screens. You have to then wash out your screen. You have to do alignment. You have to tape off your screens. You have to do testing on Pellon to making sure everything's aligned. And when you're done, you have to reclaim those screens or clean those screens out and then put those screens up for storage and or reclaim them to be reused later.
Right.
So it's not even close because understand that this is not like screen printing. When you're screen printing, even if it's an automatic press, you're still intimately involved with every shirt and you're banging away, right? And you're loading and unloading the press. With this, because we do 2 shirts up, your window between interfacing with the machine is wider.
Yep.
You have more time. That's why we could throw an embroidery machine in here right now and it wouldn't work. It's a better mindset is the person who does embroidery.
Yeah.
It's a machine you feed the shirts to. It does the decoration for you. When it's done, you want to get it started again. That's why we generally would recommend, and we'll talk about this in a bit with the packages. You want to have a second Platen system ultimately and a second heat press. So that as soon as the machine's done printing, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to have this second Platen already loaded up, pop, in, out, started printing, we're good to go. All right? Because if it ain't making noise,
It is not making money.
it is not making money. For those of you who are politically correct, or don't want to use the right verbiage. But you want to have the machine started as quick as possible. I'm not worried about these shirts that are still wet that I just took out of the printer. Set them here, have the new one in there, get the machine started. Did it get fuzzy for y'all too? Get the machine started printing again as quick as possible. Again, that's the upgrade steps. A lot of cases when people are home-based, the average person I talk to is home-based. Their average run, they're going to do 20, 24 shirts. They have a couple days. They may even do 60 shirts. They got a couple days. Saving the money on an extra heat press, saving the money on the extra Platens may be integral to them getting started. Maybe even saving the money on a pre-treatment machine.
Yeah.
You do what's within your budget. All right.
Questions?
I got an amen there from Katie. Do you think a true blonde could learn to run? Kevin,
True blonde.
I sure hope that you're talking about you. Because if not,
You're a
away.
dead man. You're a dead man.
Yeah, I'm a true gray hair. And we had somebody who used to be red.
Yeah, it used to be.
We're gonna call him Gred now, or Ray, one of the two.
Strawberries and cream.
Right?
Get it right.
Leah,
Strawberries and cream.
and Kevin's laughing. We got like 9 LOL from Kevin. All right, can somebody learn to use it? Yes, but they certainly can. And Mark is saying we have 16 minutes left, and I haven't printed a freaking shirt. So we're gonna print a shirt. All right.
Hey,
Say, listen, I'm sorry for providing you guys with information at a webinar, Mark.
Yes.
All right.
Somebody out there wants to see this thing
One of
work.
the things we're gonna do is probably the most important thing is I'm gonna have Heath load up some shirts here. I'm going to bring in a file and show you guys how the RIP software works. So, hey, if you lose us here, you may want to just exit.
Do the snowflake thing.
Hit the snowflake thing that was described earlier. I'm going to turn this off. Now I'm going to turn on the computer screen. And we're going to go in here. We're going to go to our RIP software. RIP software, what does it stand for? It stands for Raster Image Processor. All right. And what a raster image processor is it basically takes your graphic and turns it into information the printer can understand. In the DTG marketplace, it also generates your white underbase. This design we're going to print actually has a white underbase, but it wasn't created by Heath in the graphic. It wasn't created by the guy who made the graphic. The software analyzes the data from the graphic itself and generates the proper underbase. I'm going to go up under here, and I think we've got our two up same V2, right, Heath?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what this is going to do is going to populate this here with the exact same graphic. I'm going to go in here and grab a file. I'm going to import a file. And this one, this is one we pulled up earlier. It's Chameleon. We're going to print. It's a Photoshop file. You notice it brought both of them in. Bring this over a little bit. There we go. Get you guys out of there. All right, I see there's a question. Oh, it's not a question anymore. It's just a hand up. All right, now I want to rotate these. And what I want to do is I want to turn them because this represents the collar side where we want it to print to. And I want to go into this item here, and I am going to. Boom. We're going to go into this design. See here. I'm going to rotate this design. I probably get this wrong. I always do. I'm going to go 90 or 270. Yep, should have gone 270.
Yeah, it's 270.
270. All right. And then I want to take these graphics. I'm going to just bring them up here a little bit, about 2.5 inch down. When you have the collar, Heath, I'm using a nudge tool right there. Using my nudge, I can do absolutes. I can put in values here. I can hand place whatever. I rotate it at 270. Right now, as you see, the top of this graphic is about 2.5 inches down, 3 inches, 2 3/4 inches down from the top, which is if we've got the collar to the side is where we want it to be. We ready for the data? All right. One of the things, so I brought this graphic in. One of the things I want to do before I send this over, I want to make sure what this is going to cost, right? So I'm actually processing the job right now. The RIP is running through and it's processing it, and it's showing me 51.64 cents. That's per graphic. And the reason I know that's per graphic is because it only rips one of them. And it just duplicates the data on the second Platen. If I would have brought up different data, like 2 files, like a chameleon, and let's say I did a rat on the other shirt or something like that, it would now give me a dollar amount here that was the composite of the two. So this job, each one of those images is 51.64 cents. Call it 52 cents. You probably have 20 cents worth of pre-treat on the shirt. Call it 75 cents to print each of those shirts. That makes sense? I don't see any yeses, no's into it, so I'm assuming we're good with that. Any questions on the RIP so far at this point? Well, I'll tell you a question I get all the time, and I'll go ahead and answer it for you. No, it does not work on a Mac. None of the RIP softwares on this marketplace do work on a Mac. All right. Unfortunately, it's just the reality check of this industry. It always has been. In fact, if you look at most specialty softwares in most industries where you drive equipment, is it preferred to output? Yes. Great question, Katie. If you're designing in Photoshop, save your files as RGB. Someday, somebody is going to explain that to me. I've been doing this stuff for 26 years. Why does RGB work better when we're using CMYK printers?
The way it was explained to me is RGB is a much wider gamut of color. It gives you more true to life color, and your basic vision, you see things in RGB. So it's one of those things. The software has been profiled. Our actual programmer goes through, prints out color blocks, and then scans them with a spectrometer to make sure that
print them on shirts actually too.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And he actually goes through for every one of these. If you see these tabs along the top here, he actually does it in every print mode and prints all these out. That's why we have such really good, consistent colors. And I think we have the widest range. Yeah, you will see it on Monday, when you get here, Katie. All right. So we have ripped the images. We have the shirts loaded up back here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to release the job and simply just hit print. And now it's going to physically start printing the job. Before I switch back to camera, any specific questions on the RIP I can cover on anything in here we haven't seen? You actually put in your own up here. You put in your own ink costs. I have some customers who will use the exact ink costs. I have some customers that had 20% just to cover shipping charges, wasted ink that you might have from print, testing, head cleanings and things like that. That's your call. It's not that critical. It's not going to affect the print. Some people put in a cost for pre-treatment. Some people put in a cost for whatever that you want to. Can you print? Yes, absolutely. Mark gets so excited when we do 4 at a time. After this is done, I'll actually
you can print 4 different designs.
You can print 4 different designs at a time. Can you print RIP directly from Corel? No, Katie, you don't. You actually import the file. The RIP is required in order to generate the white underbase and also do the ink costing. But it's very, in fact, now you can
send the design
to the RIP.
To the RIP. But it doesn't actually go file print. It's like a export.
So
you don't want it to.
Greg's asking, will vector images work? You talking like AI files, I would assume, Greg. AI files, EPS files, you can bring right into the RIP.
Yeah, well, it's not dragging them into the RIP. It basically, from those programs, you basically send to.
Yeah.
And once it's sent to, it converts it into the language that the RIP needs, and then sends it over to the machine.
So he's a little behind now. The latest version, actually, I believe you can directly import both the EPS and AIs. I believe they've completed that.
Good.
Cool. I just had a conversation with our sales rep guy.
Okay.
And he's going to get down here. We're going to do an advanced class on it. But worst case scenario is when you have a Illustrator or Corel on your computer, it will put an export filter to just export to RIP, basically. All right, get rid of Greg. I'm done with this guy. Mike, Does the image have a transparent background and showing black because you're printing on a black shirt? On this one, I think it has a black background. Generally, we have two different ways we can address it. You can do a black background, or you can do a transparent background. Certainly, if you're designing your own graphics, doing it on a transparent background is the best way. And then if you find when you go to print, there's some issues with the edges and whatnot, you go back and drop a black background and bring it in, and you tell the rip that it has a black background.
Correct.
And it knocks the black out. Certainly, if your customers are sending you artwork and it's a Photoshop file, have them send you a transparent background, not flattened, right? Then when you bring it in, if you find it when you do a test of the file, it needs a black background to give you the best pickup of the detail in it. You drop a black background into it, and you tell it to knock out the black.
All right. So just to go a little bit further in that, as a graphic artist, when you're looking at something and you have semi-transparent pixels, like opaque pixels that you can see through, then you can actually go through and put it onto a black background so it actually changes the color, not to your eyes visually of how you interpret it in your brain, but to the physicality of the way a electronic piece
Spell
of
that
equipment.
Spell that word.
What, electronic?
Physicality.
Physicality?
You made that up.
I'm good at Scrabble. So.
Nice. So, what he said, physicality. So, Aaron was asking how many shirts of the Camino graphic can be printed with a full cartridge ink. I'll tell you what, in a second I'll show you. And I'm going to completely make it up, but we'll get close, right? Can the native CDR Katie ask? We had to wait till we're done, by the way, so I can actually go in and analyze this data for you, Aaron. I wasn't blowing you off. But as soon as it's done, I'll be able to go in and tell you exactly what the breakout of those inks are on each color. Katie's asked, can the native CDR go into the RIP or does it need to be converted? No, you don't convert it. You literally, inside of Corel, there's an export filter, export to RIP, and then you would say export to Viper Black Graphics Quality or export to, one of these modes. It'll actually drop the image straight into here. So you're not saving it out in the special format. Now, if you wanted to, you could inside of Corel export it out as a PSD file or a PNG file, a TIFF, something that maintains your transparency, and bring it in. We're getting close. We're 83% of the way through. And as soon as we get this, and probably once it kicks out, we get the white shirts, white underbase coming out. We'll be able to jump back here. It lets me do it live. Let me see if it does. No, it won't allow me to analyze it until it's done. And what I'm going to do, Aaron, is it's actually going to show me how much of each ink was used. All right, because you don't ever use up the full set of cartridges. So what we're going to have to do in this case, literally, is go in here and look at the one that used the most, right? And then I'll tell you how many of these I would have gotten done. General rule is you're going to get anywhere from 400 to 800 color layers out of a set of cartridges, and anywhere from kind of a worst case scenario of maybe 60 white underbases to as high as a few hundred white underbases out of a set of white cartridges. So, because there's two things happening here. We have white printing and we have color printing. You're printing on a light blue or a white shirt.
So
yeah, there's a lot. This shirt costs 51 cents to print. A set of cartridges cost $293. So, assuming that was an equal amount of ink based out of that, I'm looking at printing 500 something, almost 600 shirts out of that set of cartridges. I'm going to real quick go back here, and we'll come back and look at this in a minute. But we're going to actually show you the printer printing as it's finishing up the job. And I'm going to try to maybe here in the corner, I guess I can't because we got a full screen. But we'll go back and we'll pull up those prices for you at the end. Other questions while the printer is printing. Now, I want you guys to look at stuff. This is stuff to me that's cool and it shows our concern. This sticker right here comes on every printer. It shows you your daily, your weekly, your monthly, your perpetual maintenance on the machine, and it's right there on every machine. That way we can yell at you when you don't do it. Say it's right there, right? How can you not see it? The machine itself, like I said, is pretty straightforward out. You can't see inside, but here we are, the finished design coming out, 51 cents worth of ink. No, it does not, Kevin. It does not sense when a cartridge is out. However, one of the things it tells you to do in here, your daily maintenance, you take your white cartridges out and you agitate them, and you look at your other cartridges.
Well, it actually does. It'll give you a pressure reading.
It'll give you a pressure reading, but by then it's usually too late.
Yeah.
Right? So you do want to kind of keep an eye on it. All right? Mark's taking our picture. It'll be up on the Facebook page shortly. There we go.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
That was
No, good question. You guys got some great questions, by the way, guys. Well thought out. Like I said, the cool thing is this is something you can be doing if you're starting a business at home, but you still want to have a life. You know, if you want to watch the boob tube, you know, you want to be doing something, you can be listening to music while you're in here,
Oh yeah, I always listen to music
Yeah.
when I'm doing production.
right? He even listens to music most of the time he's doing support with you guys. That's why he says "huh" a lot. But it is something you can certainly do. Like Mark said, we would run the air conditioner a little cooler, a little warm when you get 3 or 4 of us in the same room. But here are the prints right there. Boom. And literally, this is a good example. This is one of those designs. Right here's my break in the shirts, right? This is one of those designs where I can actually done 4 shirts at a time by having shirts down there.
Trying to get there's so much.
It's kind of hard. There's a lot of glare today. We may have to come up with a grayish cover for that because that is a lot of glare right there.
Yeah, that's.
Here, how about we just turn the shirt?
Yeah, turn it.
I mean, guys, this is beautiful.
There you go.
Maybe the camera too. Heath did breathe on it. Oh, there you go. There we are. There's your detail, guys. You can see the scales on the lizard. You can see the metallic of the print.
Yeah.
Right.
The DTG.
You know, Mark, I think it's time we upgrade the camera. We've been doing this for a while. We've upgraded our room.
Yeah.
This room didn't exist back before Christmas.
everything, but
That we need to turn down. Have a dimmer for the lights.
All right. So back
Mark
to
is
our.
pasty and
Let me go
rough.
back real quick into the software there. I just wanted to answer a question. Yeah, you can see the texture of the lizard. Awesome print. If 8-foot cable you could absolutely tuck it underneath. I would probably use it on the 24, the largest, right? And then tuck it underneath and kind of just keep an eye on it, babysit it, right? You don't want to take the chance. We needed to consider the practicality. There was a damn, and there were like 9 M's. All right. Have an 8-foot. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So we're back to the software. Can everybody see? No, that nobody can see the software because I haven't clicked the button. Can everybody see the software now? Okay. So we had this graphic. I want to take this graphic here, and I'm going to go to. Let me pull back up top before I do that. And Heath will probably have to help me to find the data. If I double click on that, and I go to other, and no, we have to have it selected here, and go up here. Crap. Trust me, it's a buttload. Yeah, we can't do it here. There is a way. Sorry, guys, it's late at night, and Mark is starting to look really torquey at me. There's a way you can go in and look and see how much of each ink that he used. But based on my knowledge of this, and I will ask Mark because he's more of an expert on it, just ask him, is that when I see a job that's 52 cents like this, and looking at the design, I'm going to say that 42 cents of that, 43 cents of that is probably white ink, and the balance of it's color ink. The general rule is you're 6 to 8 times as much white ink as you do color ink. I'm looking at this design. There's some grays. There's a lot of green. Not a lot of really popping bright yellows and oranges and whatnot.
Okay. Honestly, I do have to say one thing. While ink cost may look like a lot when you
Here we go. Thank you. All right. So when you look at this, we put in a flat 245, which is kind of what the ink costs are for the cartridges by the liter.
Yeah.
All right. We're looking at we use less than a tenth of a penny worth of black. All right. A milliliter of black would cost 24.5 cents. We used about a tenth of a milliliter. I mean, a tenth of a penny of cyan. And then you get down to, what did I say on the white? I said, I was a little bit low. 48 cents of this design was a white ink.
Yeah.
2 cents in yellow. So we didn't use the closest we came, and we used about less than a tenth of a milliliter of yellow, and we used about 2 milliliters of white.
But honestly, ink
See
per
all these
shirt
numbers
is not your problem. If you
Right. See, this is like 2 milliliters right there.
if you're not, it's a very profitable business. And if you're worried about how much yellow or how much cyan that you're putting on a shirt, then you're probably in the wrong business.
We need to have a discussion about it. And by the way,
Pricing.
I would not ever worry about costing of your ink on light colored shirts.
Yeah.
Because the largest design I have ever printed on a standard white shirt cost about 40 cents to print. And if 40 cents versus an average of 25, like I mentioned, makes a difference to you, we need to have a whole other
Yeah,
conversation about costing.
It shouldn't.
All right. All right. So I think we're done there. Done with this guy. Done with this guy. Yeah. And like somebody saying, you're screening this. This would be for a really good screen printer. This would be a 10 color false process job. You'd have at least one flash in there, probably two. And you wouldn't set this up. You wouldn't set it up unless you had a really good film making machine or a direct to screen. And you wouldn't do this for less than 280, 288, 500 shirts.
And these guys literally picked this artwork a minute or two before the webinar.
Just to piss Mark off.
Yes, that's
did that.
exactly it.
We're back to us. Hopefully you can see us. Any more questions on the equipment at all? By the way, obviously if you're in our email list and we're invited to this event, you probably are being relentlessly pounded by Mark with his emails.
You're welcome.
So you understand that the system that we showed back here is a promo system we're running this month. And what I'm going to do is we'll answer any questions specifically about the equipment, and then we're going to kind of do a fake stop at the end of the webinar.
We'll stop recording.
We'll stop recording because we want to save this for perpetuity, because that's pretty funny tonight, for sure. And what we'll do then is we're going to share with you guys the specials we're running on the machine. So are there any more specific questions that might benefit people in the future if they're watching this webinar? Going once. Going twice. Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for watching the webinar. If you happen to be live on the webinar, hang on. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and share with you the promos we're doing. You want to stop recording?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
When we stop recording, I'm going to talk to you guys in a minute here about the promos we're running.
And no, if you have already purchased your equipment, unfortunately, they do not apply to you.
However, I will give you Mark's personal cell phone number if you want to talk to him about that.